Sincerely Carolina, a series of educational conversations about current social issues with local and international experts. Make sure you tune in every Saturday on Cool FM from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. Bye!
Happy Saturday! Mito espero ko po dati yung bong simang, whatever that means to you. Mito espero ko po simang tada produktivo, ito tranquilo. Peso nung ito preparando pa carnaval. Mito espero ko it wasn't too hectic managing those preparations, work, life, and everything else. Nonetheless, mito espero ko po sa having a good time. Peso nung ito preparando pa dia di betiko weekend aqui. Mito espero those preparations. Tabayando bong, misako ting porta happy feelings surround the dia di betiko. Weekend aqui, pero mita espero ko esunang ko tabay celebre hasi the best of their abilities, pa have a good time, anto por enjoy yung tiki ng kultura. So, may kaya kuminsan bisa ko awe nos ting record amount of guests, pa Sincerely Carolina, imino sa portapa kulafam dame, pero nos ting unos 8 guests awe in house, anto ita pa sobre ko awe to dia Internacional di Educacion. Anto pa algum liboso kusaka ba. Eso não kunosa mita duna les na EduCampus once in a while. Misa hase sa akin na diferente escola pero esse master akin geval na EduCampus. Anto mirando ko ta dia Internacional di Educacion anto tópico central eigenlijk dia kita kung hobing ng período ko crea educação eigenlijk midi hoe best pa invita pa bing paperi pa tópico aqui ko studiantenan kuta hasino ng best pa eigenlijk siya huso ng voz pa asina por papedi topiko ng kunang tahay importante ante zeker men educação tame. So unjis mit wala nang introduce ng mes anto noslo papedi ba diferente topiko ng anto as we go mi quer pedir voz tame pon tiki paciência nos sabay code switch esa aqui nota novo na Sincerely Carolina pero nos ting grupo de jovem ng anto pamite importante pa nang por expressar ng mes de forma ko nata sinti confortável nang escolta na inglês pero nang makpapya na inglês na papiamento awi na Sincerely Carolina dasi esa kita trabaho mucho hope then maybe this is not the episode for you pero mita espero ko nos porta tiki ting consideração e paciência quando nós temos hopenan kuta durf de bing radio e conversar um rato mistema bay kunos awe mainta. So without further ado, mi grabis dank kina my awesome sponsors for allowing me to talk about whatever I want to talk about. Today I'll be talking to teenagers about education. So dank kina la Rosh Pasay na total ina malubida ang hande. Na Pringles, thank you so much. Ana Maria, I'm so sorry. Pero danki na po sa tour pasigi contribui na awareness creation and important conversations. So without further ado, may ba send it to the mic nang pabusawak ng cara ng Alvast. And some of you might recognize some of these faces. Misako sitting teachers nang watching. Portapos to reconoce alguni po sa estudyante nang or parents if you're out there watching. So may ba laga nang kuminsa introduce ng mias anto I am just looking around. Anto mi kirim do kumisa na nice way mi laga Coach Ariana introduce so minhas experimento por tabis tiki di su rol na EduCampus anto we'll go from there.
Alright, bon dia Aruba, toerist nang ko bezig te escuchar nos of waknos. Mi number ta Ariana, mi te on coach/intern na EduCampus. I have been for a while, like 3 months, ko estudiante ng aki. You done on guiding them, helping the coaches as well, teaching. Essa é tiki dimi Paulo.
Thank you so much, Coach Ariana. So, it's a fair game, right? So, mita ba kumisa, nos ba hasile gewoon, nos kumisa na hende, anto je sumbani je ta sigi, and we'll go from there. So, mita ba kumisa ko Antoine, can you tell us who you are? Antere, we go from there.
Ja, Antoine, tinge shete, mita annoy tambe e coaches na. So estudiante pa basta ayan na EduCampus.
Mi nome é Chanel. Também prome ayan na Edu.
Okay.
E
Mi nome é Dizani Gonzalez. Mi tenho 5. Es agita mi de 2 ayan na EduCampus e mi ta currently in 9th grade.
Mi nome é Rosiane, eu tenho 3 anos. And this is my 3rd year in EduCampus.
My name is Jaden, and I am 17.
Meu nome é Sncerely. Eu tenho 16 anos e sabe também para mim anos na EduCampus.
Hello. Meu nome é Akira Leidens. Some of you may know me or may not know me, pero eu tenho 5 anos de idade e essa aqui também de 3 anos na EduCampus.
Thank you so much na vossa tour pa introduction e pa show up. Me quero bisa ko essa aqui tá full grupo de EduVoices também. Ora comi aso just evento de AUE, toda tem tiki hesitation, pero me tô hope contento pa o actor estudiante não presente AUE. So without further ado, maneira ko me mencionar eigenlijk een main tópico de aya aqui pelo qual ko ta Dia Internacional di Educacion ta com hobing nang por contribuir na criar eigenlijk nos educação of reimagine anto baudia sakit in diferente tópico nang ko to importante entre outros nós tinha parte de hasi uso de tecnologia anto que role sakit hunga pero também igualdade e inigualdade que passa em educação nós tinha parte de leadership que role não hunga ding essa aqui pero nós vai boy slowly into all of these topics. Pero para mim, eu quero começar com o main topic, que está eigenlijk com hobby ng pangungurol ding criação de nossa educação, então reimagine de uma forma que está meet their needs. Então me saco, Antônio saco de um topic que eu estou very interested in, so portava vou começar a conversar de um tiki e maneira me avisa boso. Whenever you want to, feel free to chime in, challenge Antônio if you have to. Of portagis add to what he's saying. So go ahead.
Pa boil down que comi ta pensa erover eta diz para implementar student council em escola pública e nós tinha sorte e acaba com nos escola atra student council e a work com a bira em diferentes segments para sobre na workout well pero a implementação de escola pública ela ajuda hope com communication skills também com trabalhando com outro even though acaba tem projeto não com a papel e não está exactly no mesmo nível sobre também ele tem mix com nada ding processo de governação de escola também e ele dá representação na estudante não com nota comportando não lo sente bom com algo trabalhando não por passou na ding student council também não por vai dona complexo ou não por sacar poll para contratar estudante não e não também lo tem poder para contra a escola para se ofia para trabalhar atividade na nova maneira aqui na nossa tem sorte com a escola dona nossa oportunidade para por papel aqui não também e para ele por ter mais representação por de outra escola para ter oportunidade na maneira nossa raia luta great para seguir sorry acaba na América e tá atividade normal student council e tá agreed upon também por de Waterloo mesmo que também se ajudava maneira mais bisa worry communication skills leadership.
Is there anyone else who quer portar chime in riba local ku Antônia bisacaba? Anto portar essa aqui tá mix com bosso tópico nang tame sobre diferente de bosso research diferente tópico nang pa tópico de AUE des ora ku mita escuchava Antônia ba menciona por exemplo a parte de leadership impacto ku essa aqui por tini right representação de ting hobing nang pero também igualdade ku ting ora tini não somente de estudiante não é diferente de estudante não, pero também portado em hierarquia, right? Ou boting adulto não, como teachers não e hobing não, então como nós está portar perceber não habilidade para pôr dona não opinião, so portar dia outro não ko a pensa com essa aqui também por chime in, go ahead. Not all at once.
Well, as a teacher / student, mi tamita agree ku lo que vo abisa, pa sobra amita wa educator ta persona ku ta ayuda mucha of estudiante of whoever that may be, pakana dori vida. Dus mane eta take bo by the hand i guide bo. I it's teacher tamitin ku ta willing pa escucha kiko persona estudiante kiar ta passionate about e you did também para create a path A. Dus Sa akin itong nice opportunity pa boso. Mitahaya ko kiyo be great.
Thank you for that. Chanel, mito habot not. Do you want to add something to what Ms. Ariana said?
Yes, I agree with both what she said and what Antoine had said also. It's a good opportunity to implement student council in all schools because it gives the students opportunity to speak their opinions without essentially being not listened to and being in a respected position as well. And
No, you're fine.
So one of the things I really wanted to talk about today was how students can essentially be co-leaders to how they're being taught. So normal school system, they sit, teachers teach, switch classes, every day same old thing. Na at Edu no está un poco más diferente as to where we are mainly online and we have the freedom of doing a couple of other things, and we are mainly there, and thank God our hours are a lot shorter than normal school. Pero in normal school, I feel like the system can be changed a little bit as to where kids are not just sitting and writing and doing the same old things. Can be changed and new stuff can be implemented, as in maybe it doesn't have to be just books and or computer. There's different learning ways. It could be stepping outside more than being in classrooms, or doing more things with hands, not just because APB they do more with hands and then Havo we do more with books. It could all be mezcla de otro, instead of just being the same old as it has been for a couple of years now.
And I mean, you have had the experience, right, where you were in a traditional school setting and now you're at this school setting, so you're able to also look back and see the fruits and the benefits of this, right?
It coming from Mavo. Not that I hated Mavo, it was just kind of have a bit of ADHD, so sitting in one spot was starting to drive me absolute mad. And then going to Edu, where if like at Mavo you had to sit there, you had to listen to them and talk. But at Edu, if you're tired, you take a break and then you go back to it. And if you feel like you don't want to do it, oh well, can get it done at home. So it's different.
Maybe more realistic in regards to how our brains function, right? And not every day is the same, because I think that as adults, once you go into the workforce, and I understand that some jobs don't have the same flexibility, but I can talk for a lot of jobs like my own job, where I am allowed to have days where I have slow mornings and I'm kind of like a little bit out of it, and I do more slower tasks, and then I kind of pick up, and my productivity, 1 week can be maybe peak between 10 and 12 a.m. And then some other days will be like at 2 p.m. is where my peak starts, but I have the space, right? But like you said, with students, when you have a very rigid and more traditional setting, it leaves little to no room for you to acknowledge those peaks and breaks, which obviously adds stress. And some students have absolutely no problem with this, which is why I also don't think that we need to like abolish traditional schools or anything like that, but having more opportunities for more students to find a place that works best for their own needs and like their own abilities, and being fair to their own system. So Akira, I see you like also looking at me and nodding, so I don't know if you want to chime in. Akira, you're also in Parlamento Juvenil and everything, so you see things from a very, I want to say like political perspective.
Claro.
Dus portava que chime in un tiki ding contexto também.
Sí, me can add to the part of diversity, me da sinti manera hopi bia pa sobra school na ta such in a traditional way tambe. For example, buting un hene kuting autism, maybe not able to focus totally in lesando un buki pa 2 horas largo, and a mí tampoco no puedo say that I cannot imagine botin ko bij vooral riba een topic kun nota interessante. Ami echt no por. Dus het is echt, you know, imita sinti tame manera punto nang na school. Like, si bota hay mane 8,5 of mane 10, anto it punto ito define king bota, like how smart you are. Pues omita sinti manera tur hende ting different ability. Manera ami gusta, I like public speaking, I'm very comfortable with it, you know, I like politics. Pero por ejemplo, mane Antoine, maybe it gusta más physical work of like, you know, it gusta más algo así na. And to ami no. So, you know, it's a really manera put someone in a spot ku manera, oh my gosh, mita so bad ding math, mane mita hayando onvoldoende, pero mane the history mita score 10 out of 10. You know, ando mita haya manera a school system not as flexible as that, pa sobra manera, you know, mane bono ting espacio pa por do mistakes.
Yeah.
But tem espacio pa do mistakes, everybody does mistakes, pero si bahaya un punto fout, ita by downgrade full go, like, you know, ano mita say not a fair at all.
Go ahead, Chanel. No, please go ahead.
Ita sinti mane either get it right or be doomed.
Exactly.
It felt very much like that coming from Marvel, so I agree with what she says.
Mita escucho boso, to porta mita sa question pa boso, si boso llega di ervare sa aqui. Pero ami mita ting muito anto mita cara mita ma hasi mavo para menos pessoa vai colégio anto tempo no tem hopi options de different forms of school, pero mita cara ku ora di kis mi paket ito ta algo super fácil de contexto ku nos gewoon a mim maior não vai wak mi rapport não anto e vak nang kumita ta bonga ding ko ta natuurwetenschappen dus er qual kan tema exact pakket anto e seta é unang sin pensa aqui que zekermente para dem futuro que comita vai studia por gewoon e não é ponto nang bong tanto semos vai kis sobre ja no ta ting ruimte para mi por mix and match kos lang pero tamelo qual ko ta mencionar zekermente ko even within that ta ting din nang kumita ta asina bonding nang ku minota ta hasmi hay história mas como sabia flow você nota ta challenging mas tas din inang ku ta tiki mas challenging ato minota ting ruimte pa bisa evak aqui mita vai porta higher level porta mita vai honors class pe vak aqui of pe dos vak tang aqui e pesunang aqui eigenlijk met Mr. extra help anto porta Mr. tutoring minota ting ruimte anto de mi caso por exemplo mino aqui da cinta nunca per mi conocer suficiente gente ku ta ting super bom ponto para 3-4 vak e portar 2 vak com não echt te struggle assim não hobby com não que da cinta para emotivo ante nota bisa que overall na nota tá capável pero nang no por handle e 2 vak nang level anto mita wak combo so sistema ta hinkad em outro que ta duna boso hobby mas ruimte para bisa que okay são com mita bonga ding de challenge me messi by mas leo e by mas higher levels anto puxa anto porta sete vak mita acaba mas li semester aqui anto são com mita struggle com nem vai duna mais tempo and that's okay too, right?
Yeah, true.
So mina escucha pariboso ainda, so me vai just começar a start names. Me que punta Tizani Arsi se você tem você tá tem tópico muito interessante também que tem parte de inequality. So que você haya online of them você research que tá algo que você bisa. I definitely want to share that today.
Okay, well, our topic was education and inequality, and we both did research for our test videos before, and that was on the topic of religion, which I also want to bring up in this conversation.
Okay.
But yeah, first of all, I want to talk about gender and inequality. So when I chose the topic, I thought about the country that doesn't let girls having proper education, which is Afghanistan, which is the only country in the world that the government says that girls over the age of 12 are not allowed to have an education. And that means some of the girls get sold, they get married early, they can get raped, which is obviously a very serious topic, right? So yeah, I really wanted to talk about that because honestly that itself gives me the motivation to try my best at school, because you know you have to try for the ones that can't.
Yeah.
I like that you brought that up because some people listening might be like, why should we care about what happens in Afghanistan, right? And you're a young girl who gets to go to education. You never had to think about it. You never had to think about whether or not I can continue school after 12. So what would you tell maybe people who are listening, why they should also care about issues that, might not be happening in Aruba, but do affect girls and people around the world?
Honestly, I think we should be grateful that here in Aruba, especially for young girls, that we have our rights. We don't get married. We're not forced to. We don't have any of that. We have our proper education. We have our children's rights, which is really important. I advise people to go do their research, see how they can support any cause over there, because it's really an interesting topic when you do a deep dive.
Thank you. Arsi, do you want to add something to maybe what Izani already said?
I don't really have something to add.
No? Is there something else maybe that you want to mention?
Poverty. Oh, poverty, yeah.
Yeah. There's a part we called yesterday and we did research together, which is how poverty can affect education. So that's what I wanted to talk about, because I did a really deep dive on how kids that are underprivileged don't have a proper education. And that can imply in maybe they don't have the right source of food. So maybe they can come to school tired and not healthy enough to malnourished. So it can vary. So which is also a cause that you should support, because kids in other countries don't get to go to school, which again brings me to my point that I'm really privileged that I get to go to school in a really safe environment.
And we also have the privilege that all children in Aruba indeed have access to education, but you mentioned something very important. It's not just the access to education, but it's also the state that the students come to school in, right? Are they coming in not having slept because maybe their parents work 2 jobs and they have a little sibling that they also need to take care of, right? Are they coming in hungry because they only have 1 meal a day? Are they coming in, feeling sick and their parents don't have time to maybe take them to the doctor because their jobs don't give them space for that? So I think that's a very nice topic that you two discussed yesterday. And for everybody listening, there are some students that are a little bit more shy than others, but I promise they all do their research. So I think Disani just said that she had a call yesterday with Arsi, and Arsi's just sort of nodding next to her and chiming in, but that's okay too, because that's, not all of you maybe feel comfortable speaking, but you discussed the topic, so that's good. So Jay, I know that you also had something about human rights and education being part of human rights, and you just heard also what Izani and RC's research kind of went into. Is there something that maybe you looked up in your research that you maybe want to add to this discussion?
Everything she just said was technically what I was going to bring up, because that is a big issue within education. That a lot of times some people don't get education because it's not a human right. They don't deserve education. They have to pay for it. They have to get everything done for that. And it doesn't make sense. You cannot expect people to be educated on certain topics, learn, and get jobs if you're not giving them the education they need. You cannot, it's you need to give them an opportunity for them to express themselves and also work for that. You can't just say, hey, you need to get paid and then you can go to school. It doesn't make sense. That's not something we could do anymore. It worked at a time where we weren't as well educated on certain things. As of right now, we are in 2026, we have been educated on certain things. We know how to deal with certain things. It's come to the point where we need to reshape how education as a fundamental works, and then we can add that and apply it.
Thank you for that, and I want to not necessarily challenge you, but challenge you all. And when you hear this, and Antoine brought up the Youth Council, and Chanel also chimed in the Youth Council. And Shelly, I do want to listen to how you see the future as well. But the world is changing, right? Jay, and you sort of mentioned that too. It's we cannot be ignorant to certain topics anymore. It's out there against our will in some cases, and that's a good thing, right? Organizations do awareness campaigns and they talk about topics just like we are doing now. So whomever's listening to the radio right now didn't ask for this topic, but we're talking to them about, why these things matter on today, a day like today, when we talk about education. So when we look at how education shapes us on an intellectual level, and how your school is, doing things like youth council and sort of also helping you develop on a, more personal level, on a human skills level, which is something that you're going to use at all points in life. How do you see it moving forward? Do you feel, and I'm going to ask you, Jay, do you feel like this is also becoming part of, like, we can no longer say that education is only for intellectual parts? Or is it to a point where, Antoine and Chanel also said, like, traditional schools and public schools, they should also have youth council. Like, should this start to become part of, like, the norm? Should this be also, like, a right where students for sure have a place where they can speak? And anybody who wants to chime in. But yeah, I want to know how you think about that. You get it, it's a privilege, but do you think it should be a privilege, or should it be something that's standard?
I personally think, especially, maybe it's just my opinion, but especially on Aruba, I feel like we need to start working on that. We need to switch up how we manage education on Aruba. It's not like as one of the co-guests said, it comes to the point where points can also determine where you go. And I don't think scoring 8s, 10s, maybe a 6 on one of them, should allow you to go somewhere where you're not qualified to go, according to them. I think if you can score good points but then miss on one, even then that's still going good. You're doing great. But for you to get diminished to go to a school lower grading than them, it makes no sense.
Does anybody else want to chime in on this? Antoine, go ahead.
Just a little thing to add that reminds me of, I have no idea if it's either real or not, but it's a very good idea to have. It was before an exam in America, I believe, from which school I do not know, but the principal sent out a letter to every student before the exam saying, some people aren't destined to be scientists. Some people are meant to be artists, so then your grade in algebra does not really affect your skill to be an artist. And for that grade to diminish what you think of yourself would be terrible to what you feel, your headspace, onto then what you are as a human. You'll feel yourself less. And that letter really, I think, should be, I don't know if standardized, but just should be sent or plastered as a reminder that a score does not equal what you are or what you can become.
As a person who has experienced something like that, mentally, after doing my test for me to figure out if I'm going to go to MAVO or HAVO, it does diminish it diminishes it a lot. It hurts when you see that you did not get what you wanted. It's when I was younger, I really wanted to go to HAVO, but my grades weren't that. They were not HAVO standards. And I realized that, so I was like, okay, I'm aiming for a MAVO at least. I did not get MAVO. It hurt so much when I saw my score back. It diminished my social formation, how I was making myself up to be, completely. It ruined it, and I did not know what to do there.
And, it's just a thought, right? I mean, it's a... I do not, so for the people in education who are listening, I am not an educator and I am not in education policy, but I do have a lot of conversations with you through my work for Fundación, for example. So I do appreciate your insights, but when I hear this, it's also the social pressure that we have created onto these things, right? As a society, we have decided that you fall into classes of worth and of intelligence and capabilities depending, right, in which school you get into when you're 11 or 12 years old. I think as an adult myself, that is a very, I want to say almost insane thing to put on a 11, 12-year-old child, to have that moment be so defining for your lives. Like, I can talk about myself. I had a very hard time with traditional education. I was the kind of kid that was in class, the whole morning, and I had like 1,000 activities afterwards because I could not sit still, concentrate. I would get like super overwhelmed and irritated. And I made it through, right, MAVO and then HAVO because I had a super great support system. But it was also very tough, and I had a really hard time kind of letting go of that sense of like, okay, my worth is not attached to what school I went to when I was 11 or 12, right? My worth came when I felt like I was contributing to my community, when I was doing things that mattered, helping people in different ways. And eventually I ended up going to school in the US, where I had a curriculum that allowed me the space to do that and, figure out my way in education. And that was really, really positive for me because it took me all of my high school years, plus, and then being in college and being in university for me to be able to look at myself as something valuable again, and as somebody who's worthy and whose high school years did not determine my worth. So maybe I want to ask you, all of you here, and I'm gonna throw some parents, some fire towards some parents, and I know that they do it, with their hearts in the right places. But something that I see every time kids get reports, and I talk about this very often, is how parents share report cards on Facebook, for example, right? How do you, as young people who are still students, feel about that? Like how do you feel about, not just your parents, but maybe other parents doing this? Like, I see some faces going like, oh my gosh. Go ahead.
Mami, mi estimabo. Just so you know, but I don't think a lot of adults realize that what they say matters a lot to their children, especially when it comes to their grades. I'm gonna use an example in my case. When I was younger, I always had top grades. I was always top of my class. And I came home with a 3.5 for topography.
Very specific.
Yeah. My parents got so mad at me, and I felt like the world was gonna end because it was my first bad grade, and I just felt like I was useless. And my parents telling me, "What is wrong with you? I'm so disappointed." So I was like, "Oh, I just disappointed my parents," and my parents basically mean everything to me. Their opinions is what shapes you from a young age, and I feel like they should be more conscious of how they affect their children, because they don't realize that in their time things were different than how it is now. But yeah, it's heartbreaking, especially to parents that like flexing to other parents. "Oh, look, my kid is so smart. What about yours?" And then this parent's put on a spot like, "Hey, my kid's grades are not that well. I should pressure them more. Like, hey, you should higher your grades," but a grade does not define a child and how they work. So yeah, it's really heartbreaking to see.
I just want to, before I give anybody else a chance to sort of also chime in on this, for Shelly's mom, if you're listening, I did not want to put you on the spot, of course not, or any particular parent. I do want to encourage parents. There's an episode we did a couple months ago with Geisa Psycholog Adeline, and she talked about the pressures that come with like the new school year, and also from a very understanding place that parents, when they see their kids and their kids are doing good, or they do something that's good, it really brings a sense of pride and happiness that they also want to share with the world. So like I said, before I even brought this up, that they do not do this from a place of like, wanting to cause harm, but as a community, we kind of contribute to ideas of what is worth it, or what is something to be proud of, something to be glad about. And I think that there are other ways to show pride of your kids doing good in school, and maybe not base it solely on grades, but sometimes I'll see some parents, share difficult situations their kids went through, maybe bullying or whatever, and how they manage it themselves. And that is also a really nice thing to share, right? Because it shows that you have helped your child to speak up for themselves, that they are in an environment where they felt like they could speak up, they could, fight back, they could stand up for themselves. And I think that maybe if it's, as a society, if we focus on how, we encourage our kids, and I say our kids because it takes a village, we encourage our kids to feel safe and feel like their voice matters, we could also start sharing those wins, So for the parents of my students here today, I hope that you share this episode and you tell everybody how proud you are that your kids, had the guts and were brave enough to go on a live radio show for the whole country to listen, basically, because that is something to be proud of that a lot of kids might not want to do because they think it's stupid, or they think it's, why am I going to wake up on Saturday morning and do that? Or why would it even matter for me to talk about education? I'd also listen to us anyway. So the fact that you are here already says something, right? About the skills that you have developed, that you got from your parents, but that you also got from the education system that you happen to be in. And yeah, that sort of have developed that. So, Charlie, we have not heard about your research on education and technology. That's also a huge part. I know there's a lot of discussions on how, for example, AI is used to help education, but maybe also hinder. So tell us what you got in your research and what you wanted to share with us today.
I researched how technology is shaping our future, especially for the youth that are still learning and constantly observing information. Children can easily be influenced to do things they shouldn't be doing at their age, especially now that you can easily access a phone or a computer, a laptop on, an everyday basis. How does it affect us? If it's negative or positive? I feel like it's more positive than it is negative. Sure, we are easily brainwashed and influenced by ChatGPT, AI, TikTok, social media, etc. But it has also helped us with medicine, biotechnology, studying as well. Information that we couldn't access before, now we can easily access it by simply Googling something. It's easier, technology is easier to access than school nowadays, since, like they said, some kids are underprivileged, but you could find a phone faster that you could get in a school. So it has helped a lot. It does define our future. Right now, if we were to take technology away, our Earth would collapse completely, because we use it for everything. It's used everywhere for anything. Like right now, we're on the radio, it's technology. Back in the days, we couldn't do this. We would have to send a letter or a bird, Yeah, so it has made our lives easier. But yeah.
Yes, go ahead. Thank you for that.
Kuya sorry, Sally, I bring up a topic, especially ding a parte di, a negative part of social media. Imita sinti manera, it is very important at a really young age. Mane voral e mayor nang pasobra nosta morals, beliefs, and all of that nosta kumisili na kas. Dus e respect sempre ta kumisa na kas. And mane si bokyarbo yuta you and bong human being in the future. Semper teach ekos nang malo, learn from your mistakes and teach the kid. But anyways, me can talk about bullying in like social media pa sobrang mita sinti manera. There's a lot of times ora ku mayor nang nota siya nang mucha nang at a very early age media literacy, and that it put us in a tough situation pa sobrang mita sinti as manera ayan ang bolter mas mita wak mucha ng manera like de eerste klas ja acaba com o telefone e a mim mesmo personalmente mas me promete telefone ora me acaba zesde, which was the best decision my mom could ever make pa sobra. You know, and I remember her like begging. I remember myself begging. Mani mito bisa ay mami mani. Tur mucho de mi clase. Tur mucho de mi clase yung telephone. Anto amita feel left out, but it was the best decision. I manera, you know, I got my phone at a point where mi tata aware ka ba. Kiko pa post, kiko no pa post. And yeah, sowieso mito de parlamento juvenil, so that makes it a little bit more, you know, but mas worry ba bo. So it's very important at a very early age pa parents nang sinya mucho ng media literacy kiko, you know, like what as I said kaba, kiko pa post, kiko no pa post, kiko pa manda, kiko no pa manda in the sense of like more bullying pa sobra mita cara din bases no stato ting in group chat, di man in full class antobra. A lot of things went down. You know, sa haya problema tami ko iya vrouw, ite asta hoofd di school haya sa. It was a whole thing. And it turns out, ami taught a admin. I was the admin. It was I was the admin, and you know, ami no taught bisa nada malo. Pero dorku jis pasora ami taught a admin. Everything fall on me. Anto like I was like no me tabi kita mi mes for the admin add like a random person anto this is pa me no get in trouble pa sobra no tata ting nada ko me talk about. No, but my point is para eta bom pa mayor na educa ng yunang for a very early age kung pa handle ko social media if they're gonna be messaging each other kiko pa bisa pa sobra asin like in a split second a message na po leaked anto mani no eta ruined. So you know, it's a good pa buting kapasidad ina nang pasa and also mane mayorang no just by duna emotional telephone mane tuma. You know, they're gonna figure out how to download Instagram, they're gonna figure out how to download TikTok manera bayre ba YouTube esete promekos kunanta hasi. So you know, it konko pa bing eta keda social media. So you know, bobo post algo, bobo papia algo kulo portray in a very negative way, even though bunota sinti kubo coming from the heart, bunota sinti ko say tot a point kubo kera make. So esse micro combis.
Mita escuchavo anto mita contento ko batrese sei di lang tipo se problematica opi grande mita quiere pa aya vários school nang passadori situação na assim na onde kubo tawak ko studiante nang ta comunicar com outro online portanto asa pa fodi ora nang school pero tem impact obviously pa sobra muito nanta vai school e nanta sinti na mais fastioso na no quer bai mas etc. Pero banda di sei tambe com nossa comportando nos mesta toda informação que tinha aí foto tambe local ko mencionar que importância de ter literacy e também de como se usa tecnologia de como nós por algo ibisa e palesa kita mostra tiki weird of tiki odd I mean dia ku AI basta hopi content ko tawaro traha at this point mit hay masha facioso so I love animal videos anto mino sa kwapa confia mas sobra mit senti mania at this point turta AI anto mit mania words are just naturally occurring cute animal happenings go mane right pero em caso é porta algo hopi inocente so I mean se é fake video about a dog hugging a cat nada não vai passar pero mesmo coisa porta fake video about algo hopi mais sério about portraying information de com por exemplo, toda tinha informação online over de algo hopi simple como de querer target boso age group ta ku turns out vaping is not that bad after all, right? Então ita tong misinformation traz misinformation pero ta sina bom hinkating outro it's really tough eori pabo por distinguish kiko ta real or not então eri kung bota como maior e como school ajuda estudiante na waki informação mi saco pa un nos assignments sang por exemplo mi bisabuso tame by wak online e nossa papi hope DSA word choices that we use right and to recognize absolute words and to palavra nang kuta leave little room pa bomes pensa crítico eigenlijk anto bosa by hasi different research bosa by wak different social media accounts di organização ng online anto wak kung nang tame ta usa linguaje. Dus met espera também com tipo de classes like these, pero como maior por have this conversation, onde we can look together at something and be like, it's not ko hindi no mag share ki ko nang kyar pa sobra nanting obviously freedom to speak up and to share ko nang pero kung nós ta interprete ora e que responsabilidade teoria nós tini ki ko nós ta put out there, right? So yeah, I don't know if we want to chime in a little bit on that.
Mita agree ko Akira's point the negativity the social media eta causa hopi drama so situation that hopi similar na dimi den mita ting havo ta mita ting group chat pa persona specificamente e a mita te admin pero I didn't do what she did ma vai sika I director da ma vise ya pero mi no gusta persona aqui mita ta hopi insensitive to it mi no abisa mi no bully e mucho morrer pero ma causa some damage mi tata young mi tata new to this phone ma letterlijk net high mi telefoon mi tata influenced by the people around me oh this is cool, let me do this until ma end up getting out of it ma apologize, called it a day pero eta pone in perspective how giving it to gewoon mucha por damage nang I sunang ronti nang. So yes, it's very important pa wak before you give a child something cool with the monitoring it vooral te nasi at least just 5 años because you never know kiko nanta doing
I mean I agree I don't fully disagree I agree it's a very reasonable
no kunam ouders namin sa constant met het ding sa telefoon pero basta pa nang porta nang sa kiko nata siendo under especially nowadays cool leaks that's very harming especialmente kung nata betra potret din ang mes anto mande mande pa otro gente anto sina ipor danya bo mes vida turku in the future nata wak hey buting potret di bo online it's very inappropriate. So, yes, I agree with Akira in that sense. Pero it also has, technology also has positives. So, it's just how it's used and how people see it.
Jay feels like he can't hold it in. He wants to chime in. Go ahead.
The issue of leaking is a big issue in Aruba. It's happened a lot. And it's a big issue. I feel like not a lot of people it happens and then we talk about, like on the news about it like one time and it's gone.
It's very normalized in Aruba, I would say.
And that's not a good thing. It's never should be a good
it's
thing.
negative, but I'm just saying how it's really very normalized in Aruba, especially in certain schools.
But I think it also has to do with trust, no? Mi takiere ku they tread very carefully here, pero mi takiere ku ora ko bota papia ko friends ang etc. Ding even se group chat setting of see it personal conversation ja de caso ko bijvoorbeeld ko santa share ta idea ali no ta llega ne punto A pero ta costan ko por passa hopefully e pensamento e momento e tá così mi ta conta minha amiga algo of mi ta share com mi classmates algo bambisa a criar ruimte uma situação que passa até essa com teacher por exemplo que nota to leuk me se pode ruimte onde kubo por vent anto tem linha of course anto nos me se saki ko linha e tá entre venting e tá disrespectful right e tá malicious pero me se porting nível de confiança também que se nós também vent e me se senti lugar seguro que mi classmates não também tirar me about the bus screenshot e mandei a vrouw sobre como amanhã não há me leuk mas por exemplo right of se me tem boyfriend or girlfriend anto mayang nasa break up anto meet arabian to meet by share porta very intimate information of pictures kumita tímidas e confiança que nós tá cria como gente ora que bota duna e confiança e também pero ora que bota e gente que aguardo confiar com algo que you can really break that trust anto menscos que bijvoorbeeld nós sabia what happens online stays online. Dus je bisa porta racist things of mane super xenophobic things of super homophobic things. Ku dia de manhã gente também que da corda. Gente também que da corda também se bota gente com nota de confia. Se bota gente com gente confiável algo com ele e bo abai anto basa exploit that. And I think that is the type of conversations indeed that parents should be having. Pero schools também tem responsibility or que nós tá forma jovem não e laga não sabe que lugar seguro, pero também que tem consequência não ora que botar persona que não é trustworthy anto que no por keep their words basically. So I'm looking at the time. And we can pidi bosa pa real quick think about something comportable sa quero mencionar, comportable sa não mencionar ainda, but you think it's really important for us to, for you to just put it out there as we close this episode. Mitawak ko design ito checking in as the research partner. Do you want to go ahead, RC? We haven't heard your voice, so please go ahead.
I feel like immigrant students has a language barrier between. There's a lot of people, a lot of kids come from Venezuela. They come to Aruba, and people in Aruba don't really know Spanish. It's not our first language, so there's a lot of barriers between that student and school. Some students can know. Some students don't go good with Dutch. I myself went to a Dutch school and then went to EduCampus because I was not good. My grades were failing. It was not the best thing I could have done. So we changed, and this school system, I don't know if the school system is me or like the school system, and immigration kind of puts a lot. You have different beliefs than other people. When you share those beliefs, some people don't agree with you. Some people criticize you for those beliefs. I believe that you shouldn't get criticized for what you believe in. You should just get accepted. So there's a lot of things between immigrations.
So I love that you brought that up in that sense. So do you feel like, for example, a school like EduCampus gives more freedom and more space for students to kind of catch on maybe on the cultural aspect and maybe be themselves, whatever that may be, versus more traditional public schools that, as we know, a lot of our traditional public schools in Aruba are Catholic schools, for example? Do you feel like that creates like a barrier and inequality sometimes?
That does create inequality and a barrier between different students, because if I believed in something and someone else believed in something, but yet I go to that school that believes in that one thing, I feel like I was an outsider. I feel like I don't belong there. So that's kind of how I feel about school being about one religion. I'm about another religion, and I go to that school.
Yeah.
I feel like I'd be out of place. I'll feel I don't belong there.
And a lot of students don't have a choice, right? Yes, Akira, please chime in.
Okay, Laura, we have a short. We have a.
Why does
Go
my
ahead.
topic bring so many people in?
It's because it's a heavy topic.
No, pero me quer, in a sense of immigrants, when you tell, it is very important, abo como mayor y tambe you, ta hopi open between boso dos manera. Nos tursa ko Aruba ta un very religious in the sense of like Christian or Catholic island. So pero mita sinti manera a mi mes. I don't agree with that. I don't, But it's a very important pa abo ko bo you tingi open conversation inanang pa por abo ko mayor tambe comprende kiko ta bo you su punto, and maybe not put him or her in a Catholic school.
Si nota sinti manese te play spele, por ejemplo.
Exactly. Imita sinti também me quer tuma tempo também pa papel over di parte di ku immigrants ang kuta bing na Aruba ku dun diferente religion. Mita bisa si nos ta multi-cultural island, pero na mesrita aware também ku nanta bing Aruba. Manera in a sense of nota pa sobra nosta speak 3 or 4 different languages, meeting ko ba adapta na buong manera. Bota being mi isla anto manera, you wanna non demanda like like demand. But in a sense of understand, ito mes ko mi by Holanda, anto mi tabi kung by papiamento yananang, anto bisa nang no, minotoy contestabo sobra amita papiamento y abata papi holandês. Pero botin ko mainis mi bay na mitin ko adapt na lugar pa sa tanang lugar. So mita sinti eseta mita very algo ko we can talk about, in the future, in the sense of immigrants ang adjusting na kultura di Aruba pa sobra mas gente bing Aruba com uma diferente cultura it is very important pa di nos tambi queda alive. Imita sinti manera si nos put them first, toch in di nos mesta sige by atras, and that put us in a very tough situation.
Me can give you food for thought. I do think this is a very interesting topic. Me por bisa diferença sa mi abay hulang na pa studia e por exemplo mi abay merka pa studia anto verschil ko mita tini ora ko mi llega obviously ora pa llega Holanda bota un holandês oficialmente, right? Paso nós sabem de Aruba, pero realistically it's not the same. Ora ko mi llega merka por exemplo bota un obvious international student, bota un outro passport etc. Immediately mi tota link na international office sa ta bira e oficina ko mita check-in ko nele anto international office me digo bisa si echt ng best e pa e processo de integração e quando algo como não mak me por exemplo na Holanda e me tá tem outro estudante na minha classe que tá vindo de outro país que tampouco não tá tinha sei que sekermente tá com não tá Toere US holidays, international office at plan activities, so obviously international students nang portando team família na América, pero não tá quer para não compreender holidays nang algo maneira going to football games, que é very American, por exemplo, não tá plania, bijvoorbeeld, você quando tá passa buscar, para mak me tailgating, para mak me wega, tudo sei não. Antes de nanta forma com por e me que bisa com merca by isso não é um bom exemplo de como se trata immigrants por no momento aqui, but that is a discussion for another day. Pero me digo bisa com tempo com a minha bai com tá Yes, I'm so. Mas ko yes, I'm so. Just be going so. Ito tiki outro anto ding tempo eta outra sina ko international offices tata ahasinang best anto aceita to forma como awak com school por contribuir na assimilação e integração de forma positivo anto actively, right? So maybe food for thought, that's something we can discuss at the next class, how schools can contribute to that integration in a positive way. So I'm looking at the time. So midway jisu na boso chance pa go ahead. Sitting anything else ko boso kiara bis of chime in. Desire, I know that you were waiting. I know Jay was waiting. I know that Chanel was waiting. So I'm just gonna give everybody a chance.
So yeah, the immigration topic is something that we discussed about yesterday because it linked a bit to what we talked about in the practice episode for the podcast. I think that immigrants can bring a diversity where they can bring their culture, but I also agree with Akira, which we have to preserve our culture because, you know, it's Aruba. And going to the Netherlands, the example she used, which we have to speak Dutch with people in the Netherlands because obviously we should all respect where we are, right, and learn about their culture, hit a little close to home. But yeah, the topic about religion specifically, which I also brought up once before, is that Aruba is like based with Catholicism, which me myself, I'm Catholic, I'm an altar servant, which I think I'm pretty open-minded for being one, because I'm not saying that all Catholics are closed-minded, though we're a bit more open-minded than some religions, but I feel like I'm super open-minded in certain topics. Like, I used to go to a school before I came to EduCampus, and Scola is known to teach kids the Catholicism way, Catholic way. And a lot of immigrant children would go to schools because that's the most affordable option, even though they don't believe in Catholics and etc., which it can also be confusing to some little kids, maybe first graders, for example, that why they can't participate in this, why they don't believe in that, why their parents teach them this way but the school teaches that way. So it can be really confusing, and I am very thankful to be going to a school like EduCampus, which is really open-minded with religion, diversity. So I think in Aruba, at some point, they should bring more schools that are open-minded like that.
Thank you for that, and especially coming from where, you know, if anything, you would have felt at home in a Catholic school, and you still were able to see how that could have impacted other students. So thank you so much, Designing, for that perspective. So Chanel, did you wanted to chime in something before we close off this episode?
Just a little sprinkle-dinkle. I am a immigrant. I am not Peruvian. I am very much Jamaican. Coming from back home, coming here and then being put into a school, and every morning they had that oracion. I don't remember it. It's only Yeah, no started in Shelo. I remember I knew that oración from the top of my head. And then by class, and so I was gonna bed and my dad at oración. And my mom was like,
What was that?
she's like, where did you learn that from? I was like, at school. Someone's like, we're not Catholic, so why are you saying that? And though I had so much problems with my Catholic school. I'm like, as Jamaicans, majority of us are Christians. And then my mom put me in a scholar school, and no matter how much we told the school, my mom spoke to them, I spoke to them, they would not listen. I still had to go to church. They had this cruise thing that they would put on you.
On Ash Wednesday,
yeah, Ash Wednesday. I had to do that every other time, and it was not my religion type thing. And the thing is, no offense to any school, I appreciate them so much love. But when it came to the religion aspect of going to school, I absolutely hated it. It was pretty much my religion kind of being pushed in the back, and then be like, you're at my school, so you're gonna do what we do here, whether you like it or not. And I think maybe it's, for me at least, a lot of other immigrant students had that same issue. That's something that they kind of need to work on. It's like, hey, you can have your stuff and I can have my stuff. If you guys want to go do church and everything, I say leave the immigrant behind. Like the Christian, or leave them behind. Let them continue doing something at school, but it shouldn't be something that you have to do just because you are going to a Catholic school. So there's a lot of stuff for them to change when it comes to schools. Again, much love to schools.
And I hear you, and for whoever might be listening and might be thinking like, oh, then you should have gone to like a DPA school or whatever other school. I do want us to be aware that it's not always up to a parent's choice. Sometimes the schools are just full, and we just happen to have much more schools than we have DPA schools. So yes, a lot of parents do their best and they try to get their kids in the DPA schools, especially if they do not want to, go to any denominational school. But I mean, they get full real quick because of that reason. And that means that, sometimes the only way that their kids get to go to school, it could be that they are, having to go to a school, a Catholic school. So for whomever might be listening, I do think that it should be diversified more to the context that indeed, that kids who want to be in a Catholic school or who are in a Catholic school, families who are putting their kids in Catholic schools because it's a very conscious choice, a decision, and not something that is forced because there are no other options. All right, so Jay, go ahead.
When I was growing up, I had a very big conflict with the religion I believed in, and it was a big thing. That because I didn't know, hey, was I Catholic, was I et cetera, because I went to two different schools.
Oh.
I went to a school that believed Mother Mary didn't contribute to the story at all.
Okay.
And then I went to a Catholic school. So I went to St. Dominica's.
Mm-hmm.
And during that time period, I was Catholic until third grade. I had realized I wasn't that Catholic.
Mm-hmm.
But having to go to service every single time kind of started to annoy me at that point. Till 6th grade when I decided to become Catholic again, just for me to stay with the environment. I didn't want to switch environments, so I just wanted to adapt to that area. It felt worse for me to do that because it felt like I was forcing myself to be somebody I'm not.
To believe maybe in something that you didn't necessarily. Yeah.
So when I went to EduCampus, a school which is more diverse in their religions, I realized I didn't believe in any religion. I don't think religion as a whole is that good thing. It could be a good thing. Depends on the person. Depends on the area as well.
Thank you for that. But the fact that you are in a space where you're allowed to think that, and that is not going to be something that is going to be forced away from you or upon you. So yeah. Thank you for that, Jane. Thank you for sharing that very vulnerable memory and moment. So, anyone else, real quick, who wants to chime in? Antoine, is there anything else you want to say before we close off? Is that it?
Yeah.
Whatever. We're closing off, and then I'm gonna give Miss Ariana maybe a moment to also close off.
On his topic, not necessarily.
No, not on his topic, just in general. Anything else that you want to contribute to today?
From the part of leadership, I was thinking when it was the entire thing about social media and teaching kids the responsibility and their action of consequences, that also, not to relate back to like my own thing, but it reminded me that youth council would also teach this, that you would need to have responsibility because you're in something that governs something serious, education. So that would also teach you responsibility, it would teach you leadership. And I do agree with phones up to 15 as well.
Thank you for that, Antoine. Thank you so much. Ms. Ariana, you were here with us today. You chimed in here and there, but anything else ko boker laga nos ko ni awe?
Well, tato hope nice po skucha ture topics nang ko nanda interested in issues nang ko ta kind of fire up ng feelings kung nanda feel about things. Ando mitahaya sa kita importante po sobra tambe mitahaya hopi nice ko na EduCampus ting bijvoorbeeld media literacy ko to teach students how to work ku social media. Ito algo skill hopi importante. Bos nanta have different creative platforms tambe como digital art, different things ko bos nampor it bos mes creatively. Anto ito algo ko hopi school tame lo por tuma como ejemplo po sobre esta bota create platform ku studiantenan por uit ng mes ding cierta manera siya tambe skills, life skills ku tahopi importante po so gista bong ding rekenen of wiskunde nota turcos anto bra si mitahaya topics aan die telefoon is dat hopi importante so parents be guide pabo you pa sobra nang mister DJ nang no sa turcos mundo ta hopi habri pa turcos tin cierto coscu no sur mister sa kiko da bon kiko ta malo anto sino bota queda para trás anto esse
Well, I want to say thank you so much. Anto bitas pero ko ba sa tour tama itong tiki pros ko kung abay. Do you feel they're go good? Just say a yes or no. Yes. Okay, awesome. All right, so sa iyo na final di episode di awe. Hindi ko bisa ko bita hope orgulloso siguro ko si di estudiantenan di EduCampus di EduVoices paabing isinta awe ko mi unti kimas kung ora to conversa. Kaya bisa dan kina mi awesome sponsors nang kuta traha espaço aqui para me portar na conversação nang ko amit hai importante pero maneira posso por escutar hobing nang tamit hai importante escola nang tamit hai importante so thank you so much me quero danke na total na la roche pasei na Pringles. I really appreciate you so much e of course na kula fam pa espaço aqui me quero agora boso ko sitin topic ko nang ko tabiba ding boso ko bosta hai importante para discuss just let me know antonos por planet. Outro simang nos vai papia pouco riba safety di mucho nang ihobing nan durante carnaval, so stay tuned for that. Anto maneira mabisa, enjoy vos weekend, enjoy dia di betiko. Anto si bo escucha episode aqui towards the end, do not worry, but by hanya back unjis riba YouTube e Facebook di Kula Fam di Sncerely Carolina. E riba jo mars bo por hanyele riba bo favorite podcasting platform, says it Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Mita wako back outro simang. Please be nice, please be kind, and make better choices. Bye.
Hi, I'm Carolina, and I am the host of Sncerely Carolina, a series of educational conversations about current social issues with local and international experts. Make sure you tune in every Saturday on Cool FM from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. Bye!
We play the hits, period.